Good morning. Welcome to the Legislative Eggs and Issues Coffee. What an amazing turnout here this morning. Glad that you guys are all here. Last week was our Lieutenant Governor's turkey hunt. We had an amazing turnout there as well. I know many here in the room were either sponsors or hospitality or guides. It certainly takes a village to do these big events, and we cannot thank you guys enough for all you did. We continue to have meetings. I know we had a meeting this week, follow-up from that event, and we hope great things come out of that. Tomorrow is our Easter egg hunt. The fire department hosts the Easter egg hunt, and the Alva Chamber puts on the egg drop. Many of our retailers stuff eggs. If you have not been there, it's a giant mosh pit of people that go after these plastic eggs filled with money and coupons that can be used at our retailers. It's a lot of fun. And those who are daring enough stand in the line like a limbo line and catch a raw egg. The Core family helps us put that on, and they've helped us put that on for years. If you have not been there, take time out of your schedule to do that, because it is certainly a fun event. And we're excited because we have a lot of people who come back for the holidays who participate that compete in that year after year, and we do give away chamber bucks at that event. So take time out of your schedule to be there. It's a lot of fun. Thank you this morning to Share Medical Center for hosting this wonderful breakfast. Thank you guys for all you do. Kelly, would you like to say a couple words?
Sure. Candace Allen, our CEO, sends her, regrets. She's not able to be here this morning, but she told me what to say. So we'll see if I can comply. Things are going pretty good out here. We've had, despite all the challenges that rural hospitals are facing, we in July were awarded critical access status, and so we've been operating under a new payment system with Medicare for the better part of this business year, and with that we've seen a pretty remarkable improvement, about $1 million improvement over last year in terms of our net operations. So things are going pretty well in that regard. She wanted me to share that we're pretty active on the physician recruitment front as well. There are 2 interviews scheduled for this month, and then several more scheduled within the coming weeks and months that we feel like have some pretty good potential for getting 1 or 2 physicians here to the community. Priorities being in primary care with family practice, but also internal medicine, if we can find someone to come in and fill that role. Last week, or on April 9th, I guess it was that last week or the week before. I can't remember.
That would be last week.
But our foundation welcomed a lot of our donors and volunteers to our annual donor appreciation dinner, and it was good to report at that so far this year our charitable giving is up year to date, and we're pleased with that. And we're working on maybe having a campaign coming up before long to help us take our electronic health record into the next level. We're really looking into things like virtual visits and expanding our telemedicine capabilities and getting more specialist access in our community through that. So a lot of things going on, and also we're having some shuffling of administration, sort of. I will be moving to Share Convalescent Home from the Homestead starting next month, and Christy Moorman will be moving to the Homestead, and Rita Goodrich will be remaining at the nursing home, and we'll all be kind of moving things around a little bit to work on some initiatives to just offer a better overall service from our whole organization. Of course, if you don't know, Share Medical Center operates obviously a hospital with the emergency room, but also we operate the nursing home just up the street here, as well as downtown clinic and physician's clinic here on site, as well as an urgent care, and we are in a management agreement with the City of Alva for homestead operations. So a lot of stuff going on out here, and I think I'm going to let our legislators do more talking than me. So, Alex.
Thank you. Before that, we have some special guests with us here today. We have the Workforce Board. We have Christy with the Workforce Board as you guys know, you guys who are in business, our unemployment rate is one of the lowest in the state of Oklahoma. And so we're doing what we can to try to help you guys out, to find employees and to help you recruit. Christy is out of Woodward at the Woodward office and wants to tell us a little bit more about what they've got going on. Go ahead, Alex.
Thanks for having us. I'm Christy Porter. I'm the Executive Director for the Western Oklahoma Workforce Development Board. We cover 25 counties. We're the largest workforce board in the state of Oklahoma. What we do is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act money that comes down from the federal government. We oversee that. That money is earmarked for education and training and helping people find jobs. Yolanda Criswell, she's our one-stop operator. She's in charge of the system. So I'm going to have her hand out our cards. Within the WIOA, there are 3 programs. There's the youth program, the adult program, and the dislocated worker program. The youth program is for mainly out-of-school youth, dropouts, someone who's already graduated from high school, but they don't know, what their next step is going to be. And that's ages 16 to 24. The adult program is anyone over the age of 18 that's registered with Selective Service if you're male or able to work in the United States. Dislocated worker is exactly what that says, is dislocated. That can be someone who say they're going through a divorce and they've been home with the kids for 15 years and they're displaced from working from the workforce. It can also be someone who's been laid off due to plant closures or other unforeseen circumstances. So those are our 3 programs. We have a unique situation right now with our workforce board that we have a little less than $500,000 right now to spend before June 30th. So we can provide services to business such as work experience. What that means is any one of those 3 categories, youth, dislocated worker, or adult, if you know of someone who you would like to hire to help you through like a busy season that maybe just doesn't have the soft skills or the skills that they need, you can refer them to us and we can set them up for 520 hours as a work experience in your business. And we pay all the wages and the workers' comp insurance. So it's kind of a try it before you buy it type thing, and it helps our participants in the way that they get that work experience. Some of our targeted population is also the justice involved and people with barriers. We call them barriers to employment. That can be anything from they're underskilled to justice involved, pregnant or parenting. There's a whole list of barriers. So then we also have what's called OJT, on the job training. So if any of you have a type of business where you train your own, so say it would be, we work with Ditch Witch in Perry, Oklahoma, because they train their own, and they work with the Meridian Tech, and so we can pay up to 50% of those wages for individuals that get enrolled with us, and then we send them to the company. They choose who they want, and we do an on-the-job training. So they earn while they learn. So that's the OJT. We've got other services. We can help anybody with resumes, interviewing skills, applying for jobs, job referrals. Another service that we can give to businesses is posting your job orders, and Yolanda can help you with that, set up your account. Is there any questions or, yes?
Is this through the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission? Are you guys tied into that?
They are under WIOA as well. WIOA is like a big umbrella, and under that there is DRS, like Voc Rehab, DHS, Department of Human Services, ORO, OESC is what we call those, but we're actually, who oversees us is the Oklahoma Office of Workforce Development.
So if I have an account with, I go through OESC sometimes to look for people, but if I go separately through you guys, I might have some additional resources.
We all use OESC and we're called Title I. We all use that same OK Job Match.
Okay.
And so if you have an account, she can still help you post the job order.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I can also, when you have a job opening, like I will let the whole western area know. Even though it might be in Alva, I'll let our Altus office know. Because you never know, somebody from Altus might want to relocate, so.
Okay.
Yes, and we've got Tyler Thompson. Do you want to stand up? Okay. And she's grown right here in Alva, America. And she is our new Title I staff. She works for Odell Management, but she is the case manager for this town in this area. She's housed at Northwest Tech. Do you have anything?
This is week 3 for me, but I'm very excited to get started. I feel very honored to be able to give back to the community that's been so giving to me and encouraging. So I think we're going to kind of figure out the youth is kind of going to be my main source, but if there's any adults that you know of that could use some help, just send them my way.
Thank you. We're very glad to have her.
Thank you guys for being here this morning. Before we, I know there's a couple more community announcements. Tombstone Tour.
Tours will be the 27th. We start at 3 in the afternoon and run until whenever. We're hoping to sell many tickets. We're not taking the ghost from the museum, but there will be actors in the cemetery to give you some history on your community. And we also will feed you a hot dog. And you won't have to do any walking. It'll all be you'll ride on trailers. So come and see us.
Any other quick announcements that anybody wants to share this morning before we get into exit issues? Sure.
Bank Central is putting on a free cyber parenting workshop. It's not related to cyberbullying, but the speaker shows us different technologies we can use to kind of navigate the new technologies that are coming out with our kids learning faster than we do. And there's quite a few different things that we can install in our own technologies to help combat that. April 29th at 6 at the Northwest Tech Center, and it's a free workshop, so we'd love to see you there.
Okay. Well, this morning we have with us Representative Carl Newton and Senator Casey Murdock. I don't know who wants to go first this morning, if you guys have flipped a coin, but thank you guys for...
You want Ryan to go here?
Oh, okay, Ryan Kroll, would you like to say a couple words?
Well, he can cover the whole nation, and
Okay.
then we'll focus on the
Thank you,
state.
sir.
Thank
My
you.
favorite state rep, thank you. I got my favorite state senator and my favorite state rep here. I'll be pretty quick. I know you guys want to hear from them, and I do too, but just so you guys know, I'm Ryan Sproul. I work for Senator Jim Inhofe. Always glad to come to Alva. I shared with the Northwestern folks. I spent some time here. Actually went to school, graduated, so it's always good to come back here to Alva and say hello. I'll be around afterwards. Like I said, don't want to take up too much of your time. So catch me afterwards if you have some questions. Probably the biggest thing that you guys have seen this week, it's recess week in D.C. Senator's actually spending a little time with the family today and the weekend with the holidays. So big thing to come out of D.C. this week is the Mueller report. In the senator's words, there wasn't much in it. Just kind of like he was talking or what he thought. Didn't really show much evidence of any collusion or anything like that folks have really been asking about or concerned about. So that was good news. I mean, they had 2 years, infinite amount of resources to find something. They haven't. So he feels like it's time to move on. Big thing that he's going to focus on as chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is basically that committee that's tasked with funding our military, their budget, things of that nature. is rebuilding after about 8 or 10 years of defunding the military. So that's kind of been his thing since day one in the House and in the Senate, is funding the military. So look for that. The way I understood it, they're actually ahead of schedule, actually ahead of the House. The Senate Armed Services Committee is. We'll see how that goes. But that'll be the big thing that he's going to focus on as we come up. So I'll stop there. Like I said, I'll be around. Always glad to visit with you guys. Appreciate a good turnout today. Thank you, sir.
Hey, good to hear from you. I'm glad to find out you graduated too.
I did.
Here's that $20 I lost.
No, the Tombstone Tours, is that this month on the 27th?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds cool. I'd like to do that, but no, it's nice to be back home. What have we been talking about? I'll give you the House perspective, and of course he'll give you the Senate perspective. My House members, you got to remember that we have 45 new members in the House, which is almost half of them. And when you get closer to the end, the votes get harder. And I've seen these guys, they're squirming, and oh my gosh, this vote's so tough. And I'm thinking, good grief, this is nothing. You guys haven't been through a budget crisis and all that. So it's interesting to watch them, and they're still very favorable. We're passing about everything. I don't know that we've failed maybe one bill so far on the Senate bills. That's amazing because Senate bills are bad. We Senate bills, they come over and we just try to. But no, it's been pretty good. I mean, I was just trying to think of topics. I would love to wait and take some answers, some questions and stuff like that, but I want to give you a little heartbeat on what's going on. As far as me, we know we passed 3 marijuana bills just this week. I know that excites everybody. But one of the things we are dealing with right now with the Department of Ag, hemp growers, and we do have some out here, and I've been contacted, and we're working with them, Department of Ag and the FSA. What we're having a problem with the hemp growers, we got a new bill coming out, and last year we went under a pilot program with the universities. Northwestern is one of them. Northwestern, NOC, Panhandle, all the universities, we could use a pilot program to go through them. Well, that was supposedly ended last year. Well, we're waiting on the federal farm bill. The federal farm bill, which is 2018 farm bill, doesn't go into effect till the fall. So all the farmers that plant hemp this spring will lose their FSA support. And so guess what? They're not excited about that. So we're having to go back to the pilot program. In fact, Dr. Cunningham may already be aware of this too, is that we're amending a bill. I think Senator Paxton is going to be carrying the bill over there to start it with, and we're going to try to amend a bill and get it back on so that they can be planting. In fact, they should be planting in the next 2 weeks, I think. And so it's kind of a rush thing. That's one of the crisis things that I've been working on lately. And so we're hoping to get them up and growing. And really, I think that'll be a great impact for the farmers. I mean, the guarantees on some of those is pretty good, I think. So that would be a good thing for rural Oklahoma. As far as me, I've been working on natural resources budget. It's been very interesting. One of my first year as chairman of natural resources. If you guys don't remember natural resources, that's everything you deal with mainly. It's ag, tourism, it's water resources board, environmental quality, commerce, insurance commission, all those things that kind of deal with the people and everything like that. And so we're working on the budgets, and we do have a little bit of money, and we're trying to help some of those agencies that we've cut down to 45% of what they were, help them, like Department of Environmental Quality wanted to buy some lab equipment. Yeah, it makes sense. You want to know what your water is and all those things. And so we're trying to get some of those things caught up a little bit. And another thing that we're working on is the extension groups. For us in rural Oklahoma, having these extension people out here is important. And so we're working to make sure making sure that money is coming to our county extension boards. And so that's one of the things that we're working on right now. But it's been active. Next week's our last week to hear Senate bills, and that's last week for them to hear House bills, and so we'll probably hear, how many bills this next week? 200 to 300?
I think we have 100 left.
You have 100 left? I think we got more than that, but anyway. But the number of bills, we started out with 3,000 bills to begin with, 3,200, something like that. And then after the first wave, we're down to 800 and some, 869, and now down to 6. After they've gone out of the committee process, it's like 645, and by the time we get done, we'll only have 400 or 500 bills that pass out of both sides and go to the governor's desk. So we're working to get all these bills finalized, and so there's some other little different projects. I'll be happy to talk about anything, but I'm going to let the senator talk, and then that'll give us plenty of time to answer your questions, because specifically we're working on that. And by the way, just so you know, the governor went in, and as you guys knew, we gave him more authority over all the boards and everything, on the agency heads and all that. And so when he did that, he went through, and that they eliminated the boards that were tied with those. So I'm currently working on keeping Todd Holder on the Department of Corrections board, because he does a great job there. And so I've been working with the Speaker of the House to make him one of his appointees. So I'm working on that too. So because Northwest Oklahoma, we have some correctional facilities up here, and it's important to our area too. So and that's part of the thing that scared me about that. When we did that, we took away the regional. Before, they had to have somebody from each region. Now you don't. They could all be from Tulsa. So we want to make sure we're trying to keep somebody up here from Northwest Oklahoma, so we're trying to do that too. So I'll turn it over to Senator, let him talk a little bit, and then we'll go there. He got his cheat sheet out, so he knows what he's going to talk about.
No, I don't. Even with the sheet, I never know what I'm going to talk about.
All right.
I make my secretary, my EA down there very nervous. Because she says, well, are you ready? And I said, well, I don't know, I'll just wing it. And when I tell her I'm going to wing it, she gets awful nervous. I actually think I do better when I wing it, because if I'm reading notes and I skip something, I get real nervous, and I screw it all up. But no, things are, in my short time there, I'm starting my 5th year, and I think Carl can agree. This year we have gotten along a lot better, and I'm talking about House and Senate, across the chambers, across the rotunda. We're getting along a lot better. I think one hiccup, first I want to say, you've heard the term that you don't, making legislation, making law is like making sausage. You really don't want to know exactly how it's made. I try to tell you guys everything, how we do it, the processes, the behind-the-scene things, what's going on, and sometimes it doesn't sound so good, but that's just how it's done. But with that being said, kind of what's going on in our budget negotiations right now, the House and the Senate are pretty much lined up with what we want to do with the budget. I think the last I heard we're about 80% there. I mean, we're so far ahead this year compared to previous years on our budget negotiations. But the governor's not quite on board yet, and we're kind of having a little staring match right now with the governor. He wants to put $200 million into the rainy day fund, and I think that was his State of the State speech. He talked about $200 million going into the rainy day fund. But what you don't know is we have already put this year $800 and some million in there. And if our economy keeps growing like it is, we're going to be well over $1 billion that we're sticking in there just this year. So the House and the Senate doesn't really feel like we need to put an additional $200 in there. I think we're rolling along pretty good. Our economy right now in Oklahoma is doing very, very well. Todd, I see your name is being spread around down there a lot. So I'm pulling strings for you on the Senate side too. So
We appreciate that.
But so it's going to be a staring contest. Who gives? Who blinks first on that one? I'm hearing we're going to get out early. I think we're probably going to be 20th of May is my guess. Just because there'll be some little thing that gets us hung up on, like last week. And I don't know how well you followed the Capitol last week. Senate and the House got shooting bullets back and forth on little stuff. I was scratching my head. I couldn't understand, why are we fighting over this? It was a train bill, and the Speaker of the House got very, very upset because his bill did not pass out. His Speaker of the House bill did not pass out of committee, so he went and pulled some of our bills out of their committees. And, you know, just for you guys, you think, why are they, this is ridiculous. For me, I'm sitting there, this is ridiculous. Why are we fighting over these little bitty, we got bigger fish to fry.
Can I ask a question? What was the score on that bill that he, in committee?
He didn't even get a vote.
It was 0-9.
0-9 on that. And I felt sorry for him, because I've had bills. No, I guess I've never had a bill that didn't get at least one vote. I really feel sorry for him. He was a little hot, but run better legislation, right? But anyway, and it's just this time of year we do that in the process about this time of year, and it's negotiations, and you know, the House wants what they want, and the Senate wants what they want. I mean, we all want the same thing. It's just how we get there. The House wants to go around the mountain on this side. The Senate wants to go around the mountain on this side. The governor wants to go over the top. But it's, what are we going to do? And which direction we're going to, it's all negotiations. And lots of, I hate to say it, but a lot of games being played to try to get ahead in the negotiation process. So that's where we're at right now. That's for questions. So I can give you the real facts. I got my papers messed up one time on the floor, and you know, all my bills that I run is constituent request bills. And so, you know, when I do town halls, that's where I get my ideas. Well, this past summer I did a town hall in almost every town in my Senate district. So you can imagine the amount of ideas I had when I went back to Capitol. I ran 60 bills this year. I won't do that again. That's not manageable. Well, I had about 6 bills on the Senate floor, and that I was presenting. Had them stacked up there. And on the Senate floor, you just do them all when they call on you, you just present all your bills at the same time. Just boom, 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 boom. Well, I grabbed the wrong bill. Well, one of the bills was to reduce the fees for farmers markets with the healthcare authority. That came to me from some little old ladies in Guyman at the Texas County Fair that was selling pies at the fair, and that's where that idea came from. Well, I got up and I started explaining my bill, and I was talking about these ladies and their pies and going on, and that wasn't the bill we were on. So that was very, very hard to do. But no, I'm as you're all well aware, I'm chairman of Wildlife and Ag and Wildlife, and I am totally on board with the governor on pulling in some of these agencies. For the last 100 years, agencies have been running the state with very, very little accountability. So I don't know where you all are at on term limits. One thing that term limits did, in my mind, is they have given the agencies and lobbyists all the power at the Capitol. And when I say that, say Carl got elected 2 years ago. It's been a long 2 years, hasn't it? He decides to go after an agency. Well, Carl has been forged by the fire of, 3 special sessions, 2 special sessions? Carl's grown a lot. He's got at least 6 years experience in those 2 years. But, it takes a while to figure out the process down there. I think probably about 4 years. I've been there 4 years. I've started my 5th year. I'm starting to figure out how things work, where to dig, where the bodies are buried. Actually, it took me 6 months to find the bathroom down there, but it takes some time to get your feet underneath you and understand the process and where to look and all that. So you got 4 years there. So then, say Carl wants to really look at this one agency. I'm going to dig into this one agency and get them figured out, get them straightened out. That agency head just starts dragging his feet. And they have figured out Carl terms out in 12 years. If I can drag my feet long enough, he's just going to, stiff arm Carl off for play defense for
10 years.
He's not going to, the next guy may not even worry about him. So I'm chairman of Ag and Wildlife. I want to dig into these agencies. And I started digging into wildlife. The thing about wildlife is they're unappropriated. So really the only power, really more Carl than me, because the House deals with budget. I mean, that's where all money starts from, all revenue starts from the House. But the only power we have down there is the power of the purse strings. Well, they're unappropriated. So you don't even have that power with wildlife. So how do I get them to come to the table? How do I start digging into them? I got to file bills that is very, very egregious bills just to get them to the table. Not planning on running them, but something to perk their ears to get them to the table. So I did that this year, and they did push back. But I think I accomplished some things. I've got a lot dug in, but whenever I started, it's kind of like an onion. When you start peeling back that onion, there's just another layer, another layer. Well, I started getting lots of phone calls on things that was happening at wildlife because nobody's done that. Nobody has gone in there and really dug in and looked into them. And so there has been people very, very close to the agency that has been calling me and telling me things that's going on there. This is going to take me a while to dig into everything that's going on over there, but it needs to happen. What frustrates me is since I've been there, and it still happens, but you present a bill in committee and say it's a bill dealing with the agency. You're going to have a question, and the question is, does the agency support this bill? And if the agency doesn't support the bill, it fails. I don't see my job as chairman of Ag and Wildlife. My job is not to protect that agency. I'm there. They've got a director for that. My job is to represent you guys. Bring your perspective to issues. Not to sit there and protect an agency. And so that's what I'm trying to do on that side of it. Budget. I am sure we're probably is there going to be a question about COLAs? Does someone have a question on COLAs? If not, I'll talk about it. That's what some of that paper is, but I was going to wait until we got into questions. Nobody's got a question? I'll talk about it. So COLAs, so the House sent over to the Senate this year 4%, raised COLAs 4%. So COLAs, cost of living adjustment for retired teachers, firefighters, police. What all was that going to do? It wasn't all of them. It wasn't straight across the board, but it was, what, 3? Or was it across the board?
It was across the board, 4%.
Okay, across the board, 4%. They sent over a 4% cost of living raise, which I'm not going to argue. We need that. Our retired people needs that. They haven't had it for, 11 years? No offense, Carl. One thing in the bill that I did not like that they sent over is, so if you wasn't aware, in about 2005, our retirement accounts in Oklahoma were not shored up very good. The teacher retirement was about 49% funded. I have it here.
It's in the 40s. 42.
I don't have it here. I have it what it is, right? Okay, in 2009, teachers was at 49, fire was at 54% funded. But on that trajectory, those funds were going to be broke. So the House, I think it was Randy McDaniel. Actually, he's kind of a hometown boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
started digging into it. He spent his 12 years fixing that issue, and he's done a wonderful job because we're at teachers right now are 72%, fires at 68%, but he's done a wonderful job turning that around. But the legislation that he's done to turn that around is whenever the House, because what was happening back when the Democrats controlled it, every time there was an election, they'd give a cost of living raise. And they just kept digging into it, or they'd go in there and borrow that money. And you've seen that on the federal level. They go in there and borrow that money out of there, and it wasn't getting back. So Randy went in there, and in the legislation, I guess I should say treasurer, him and I are friends, but Randy went in there, and in the law said before the legislature can increase COLAs, we have to do an actuary. We have to do a study. How is this going to affect the fund if we do this? And the bill that the House sent over struck that, sent it to the actuary this year. They didn't strike it totally out, but in this bill, they didn't. This was just going to go straight. Wasn't going to go to the actuary. I don't want to get these numbers back. For Randy, he worked way too hard in ensuring this thing up. I want to make sure that we're not overspending, that we're going to be okay. At the 4%, it's $850 million is what that's going to cost. Before we make that kind of commitment, I want to make sure that we can handle it, because it's going to be every year. And so the Senate is looking at sending it to an actuary. That's going to be 6 months. So we're looking at a 6-month lag there. For me, before we spend $850 million, I'd like to make sure we're doing it right, and that we're not going to get in a jam. So with that, I will take questions on that one. I think that's... Oh, the most important, I forgot, the most important legislation out there, Carl, and you forgot. It's over on your side now. We're making the ribeye the state steak of Oklahoma, man. All right. So that was my deal. I'll admit to it. The last year when this came about, the last year was a tough year, and like I was saying before, 2 special sessions, horrible year for legislators. We were getting beat up left and right. They were out there saying Oklahoma's last in this, Oklahoma's first in incarcerations. I mean, just all the bad stuff. And I'm like, we need Oklahoma. There's some good things in Oklahoma. Agriculture. We are 3rd in the nation in mama cows. Texas County is one of the top 10 counties, ag counties in the nation. And I wanted just to, show what Oklahoma is good at and just positive reinforcement. And that was the intention of the bill. Well, then I started getting beat up on this bill. And, you're wasting time and money. Well, in my mind, it's not a waste of time and money to support what my district does, agriculture. To wave the flag of agriculture, that's not a waste of time for me. As far as money, the night that it passed, the day that it passed the Senate floor, this bill was the only bill that the Senate ever passed that paid for itself the first night. You're going, what? What are you talking about? Well, when I got back to my apartment that night, I got about 30 text messages of people saying, hey, we got a ribeye tonight in your honor. We got a ribeye tonight because it's going to be the steak. 30 of them. 4.5% state income tax on those steaks. I added it up as about $60, $70. That bill was 1 page long. At 10 cents a copy, there's 48 senators. That's $4.80. $70. The rest of it's gravy. But why would you put gravy on a ribeye? But no, we're ahead of the deal, and the House is going to pass it, the governor's going to sign it, it's good things. But no, I envision, you go to Texas and you see that big billboard that says the 72-ounce steak at the Big Texan. I'm envisioning billboards coming into the state of Oklahoma that says, when you're in Oklahoma, buy the Oklahoma ribeye. It gives a restaurant an opportunity. I told a representative from Oklahoma City, I said, this bill's going to help your district far more than it helps my district, because you have all the steakhouses in your district. And it's going to give them an opportunity to sell a product. I think Carl's job, my job at the Capitol is providing opportunities. Now, what the public does with those opportunities is up to you guys. But I think our number one job down there is providing opportunities to the public to be successful, to make money. With that, let's open up. Are you ready? Questions?
I'm Eric Emerson, HR manager over at Value Added Products. Back in January, there was a bill, I think, introduced to the Senate to raise the minimum wage. Do you know if there's been any movement on that? I'm just trying to plan strategically for next year.
I don't think that went anywhere. There was a bill, but I don't think
it made it to.
Yeah, it didn't see the light of day.
That's fairly good. Okay, that's all I needed to know. I'm just trying to plan for next year.
Right, I've not, and that was coming out of the House, I believe, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it got anywhere.
Okay.
Is that it, man? We've
Did we really cover it that well?
Really?
Can I ask one?
Yes, yes.
I'd hate for you guys to get out of here without more questions. I saw something yesterday, I'm just curious your take. State Supreme Court justices on how they're selected.
Right.
5 congressional districts across the state and then 4 at large. Any
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
guys' thoughts on that? I'd be curious.
So, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
You sure?
You're wound up.
I am wound up. So when that came across, when the Senate bill ran, so I'm on the Judiciary Committee. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Rancher from Felt, Oklahoma on Judiciary. I'm sure the pro tem has his wisdom on why he stuck me there, but when the Senate version of that ran in Judiciary, that was a tough vote for me. I didn't. The two sides of me, of who I am as a person, was really tugging at me. My rural side, I was concerned with, by redistricting it, is rural Oklahoma going to lose a voice? My conservative side of me, being a conservative, I've seen our Supreme Court in Oklahoma, some of the rulings that they've made have been almost as well, no, I'm not going to reach out there and say the Ninth Circuit, but let's just say they have not matched up with the dynamics of Oklahoma. They've been, to be nice to them, they've been leaning towards the liberal side. And I didn't think that it matched up. I think it's time we look at our justice system. So that day, that was a hard vote for me. I mean, I was very, very torn. I voted for that bill, and it's kind of like going out and buying a new pickup after when I was walking out. I'm like, man, I went the wrong way. I had buyer's remorse. And I went and talked to the pro tem. Actually, the governor came to my office, talked to me about it, and because I wasn't going to vote for it again. Well, that bill died. It didn't get heard again, so I didn't have to vote for that bill again. But the House bill came over, which was a better bill. It wasn't as, is a little more palatable. The language was palatable, is a better bill than what the Senate bill was. The governor came to my office, and I expressed my concerns. I said, I'm concerned for rural Oklahoma. I see on wanting to get a Supreme Court that looks more like the state of Oklahoma. I see that idea, but I'm worried about rural Oklahoma. So what this does is it redistricts the Supreme Court along the lines of our congressional districts with 4 outstanding seats that they can pick from anywhere. Now, I think they were blowing some smoke up my skirt on this because, but they said, you know, in all reality, and this, they wouldn't, I mean, it's true. Now, whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. Our district could wind up possible with 5 judges from our district. 1 from the 3rd district, and then 4 at large. That could happen. But I could win the lottery tonight, couldn't I? So they said, you know, you can, that's going to allow that to happen. I said, I see that. But in reality, what is a judge or a lawyer from Alva going to get picked? And I guess if Carl and I really work on the governor and maybe, but where we need to address this is not, and I told the governor this when he was in my office, and I said, I'd like to see next year a follow-up fix is how you receive the names. I think that's where the problem is. The names are submitted for the court by the Bar Association. And you're wondering how did we get a liberal Supreme Court in the state of Oklahoma as red as we are? The Bar Association submits 3 names to the governor to pick for the Supreme Court. The Bar Association, in my mind, is probably about the most liberal organization in the state of Oklahoma. So they just keep sending liberal judges. Those 3 are liberal judges that they're sending for the governor to pick. He can't go out there and pick someone else. He's got to pick out of those 3. And that's the issue that we need to address. I think that's how we fix it, not the redistricting. But that's what was in front of us. Did I help you out anyhow?
Well, yeah, and you could go the other, you could have all 4 of those at large from Oklahoma City or Tulsa.
Right, and
I mean,
so
And that's more likely. That's why I voted against it when it was on our side. I mean, I voted over 1,000 bills since then, but I think I voted against it because that was my deal. If you guys want to know the state of Oklahoma, rural is red, metro is blue, okay? I mean, we have a representative in the House of Representatives that beat the minority, the Democratic floor leader, without campaigning a bit. He spent no money going out and campaigning. In fact, I was visiting with him the other day. Sorry, I don't mean to detract from
No,
this,
go ahead.
But he said, I said, well, what'd you do on campaign night? He says, well, I was sitting at a local establishment grading papers for my class. I said, you mean you weren't having a watch party or anything? He says, no, I've done it so that in 2 years when the guy terms out, then I would have a chance to possibly have my name out there and known. And he said the early voting came in and I won the early voting. And he says, so I called my wife and she says, well, actually she called him and says, hey, you won the early voting. And so he started watching it. And he ended up winning the election, never campaigning. And this was the Democratic minority floor leader, who's the head of the Democrats, who was going to be in his last term. So I'm just telling you, red is rural and metro is blue. And so I'm sure that Governor Stitt is going to take that into consideration when he's looking at that. But still, all our districts are pulling towards the metro area. You watch the redistricting after 2020. It's going to be more that way. And so to me, I wasn't anxious to do it the other way. So that's why I went the other way. So, other questions?
Over here.
Yes.
So, my question is more for like rural medicine and of course, we're like at the bottom as far as healthcare in the state of Oklahoma.
Right.
There's been a lot of push on trying to get mid-level nurse practitioners, PAs, to be able to practice with our full authority. Been a lot of pushback from the physician side. But when out here in rural America, nobody wants to come out here but us. What's the kind of talk amongst you guys as far as what's the plan? How do we get people out here? Where is the change going to come from? Because basically both of us are just going out head to head and nobody's getting anywhere on it.
One of the things we did, I don't know where it's at on the Senate side, we passed on the House side, that we would give physicians in rural areas, in under manpowered areas, we would give them, I think it's a $25,000 tax credit on their taxes, state taxes. So incentivize them to give them incentive to come to the rural areas and practice in the rural areas. And I know the nurse, I don't know if the nurse practitioner bill ever.
It didn't even make it to, hold it. There was too many amendments and adjustments to it.
Yeah, I mean, there was.
It ended up putting us backwards then as opposed to forwards.
Yeah,
So we just
that's a typical plan on that. And so I expect that to come around next year. It'll be more of an election year process.
Yeah.
I think we'll see it again next year. But that's what we tried to do there. And then we're also doing some other incentives and trying to help get people to come this way. Manpower physician now also gives nurse practitioners and PAs a incentive to come to rural areas too, if they want to come educate and come that way.
And Guyman just got a new doctor, I think it was in October, that they forgave, I would say like $120,000 of student loans for her to move, and she had to stay there a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
There are little things we're doing, but even with that, it's just hard to get doctors to come to rural Oklahoma.
It is. No matter what, the incentives still, I mean.
We really need to raise our own. The doctor at Buffalo grew up there, wanted to go home, and that's a hard process. But we need to raise our own because it's easier to get them to come home. And whether that is offering on the front side rural scholarships to medical school for kids from rural Oklahoma, and just start raising our own.
And I know Oklahoma State College of Osteopathic Medicine is working that. They call it the blue coat to white coat program. They're tying in some of these leading FFA members and giving them an incentive to come to med school and stuff like that. And so that is working. We do have more school. I know we got 2 from this area that are in med school right now, I think, don't we? The walk-in, and there's another one, I can't think of the name right now, but, and then another kid from Cherokee just got in too, so they're trying to work that area. And the problem out here in northwest Oklahoma is also, where's the nearest residency program? They say that a resident will set up within 75 miles of where they can do their residency. There was one in Enid, but there isn't one. And so OSU is also trying to reestablish that residency program in Enid, which will push doctors this way into northwest Oklahoma. It's amazing to me how many people I run into at the Capitol. And I say, well, I'm from Cherokee, Oklahoma. Oh, I used to be from northwest Oklahoma, or my family's from northwest Oklahoma. Everybody's been from there. I always wanted to come to them. So, anyway, that's
I think all those are almost arguments for why we ought to be giving nurse practitioners full practice.
Oh, most definitely.
23 other states already do it, and more are doing it all the time. And I think if we're going to evolve as a state in medicine, we need to do that.
Well, that's when this battle started. The doctors came into my office, or they're lobbyists, and they're pushing me. And so I don't know how many of you all have been in my office, but I have on one wall just a long, big picture of cows. And he's going in, that we need to stop this, that they don't, the anesthesiologist doesn't need more power, they're fine. And I look up on the wall and look at my cows. I said, did you even know where I was wrong? I said, don't even come in here and ask me for my vote on this, because I'm going to support rural Oklahoma. And he goes, I get that, and he walked out. But no, we've got to have, because, well, like the issue in Guyman, their hospital is struggling really hard right now. And it's I think it goes back to the root of it is doctors.
In fact, the nurse practitioner will have the first graduating class next year. Next year, yeah. The doctor.
I want to thank you for your support of education, and I want to ask you for more support of higher education. We appreciate you very much, and all that you stand for rural Oklahoma. It's a huge driver for us.
It's been a hard deal because the big push has been for Common Ed, but I really think we've lost some of our detractors from higher ed this last election cycle. I mean, and so I'm hoping that we'll help that, because you guys can tell me better than I can, but Common Ed teachers can make almost as much as a professor now.
Well,
So,
that's what. Steve was telling me when I ran for Senate, and Steve was driving me around here in Alva, and he said the high school teachers here in Alva are making more than the professors at Northwestern, and I about fell down. I thought, you know, just on the level that the college professor would make more.
You know, it's time to put our ear to the ground for higher ed.
Well, what would be, and what I'm concerned about is our regional. OU and OSU is going to be able to take care of themselves. I'm concerned about regional universities, you know, the Northwesterns, the Panhandle States, the Northeasterns. Because...
I'm concerned about Northeastern, I didn't in your district. Okay. Go ahead.
Hey, I try to bring
You had
everybody...
two in your district, I thought maybe he was gonna get a third one in your district.
Well, when we redistrict, that might be you. And yours too.
Might be.
But the OU and OSU is going to be okay, and it's when Carl and I try to get money, and especially last year when we were doing the cuts, and you know I'm fighting trying to protect the regional universities, and so well that's, you know, they've already taken this huge cut, they're already hand to mouth out there, but the way it's set up, they're all in there together. I think if we could separate our regional universities from OU, OSU, that'd be a lot better for us. But I think that is constitutional, isn't it?
Yes.
That would be hard to do. That's what they told me. It'd be hard to do.
But they go to the people, right?
Right. But if we could ever do that, that would be better for you. Wouldn't you agree?
You know, I'm going to say that the system is good. We need the two research, we need the two flagships because they serve a huge purpose for the state. We need the regionals and we need the community colleges.
Well, I'm just, when I want to split them, I'm saying the battles at the Capitol.
Well, that could be.
The battles at the Capitol, if they
were
were split,
disconnect.
it would be easier to, so coming into when we had the big holes in the budgets, and the fights on where we're cutting, with me trying to save the regionals, I couldn't because they were tied to OU and OSU, and at that time it was my first year down there, and we had a couple of members in there that was wanting basically just to defund all of them. They had their whiteboards out, and every caucus meeting, they sold the case of they've got too much. But their case was all on OU and OSU. They said, well, go down and look at the Taj Mahals they're building in OU. And I said, well, come out and look at Panhandle State. You know, they're on a shoestring budget. I mean, and they're tied together. And correct me if I'm wrong, whenever we allocate money to higher ed, and you think of a pie, OU, OSU gets half of it, and the other half is split among how many regionals?
23 others.
The other half is split between 23 other schools. So that's not really fair, is it?
I'd like to have more.
I imagine.
You like pie, huh?
I like pie.
But that's the issue there. You know, Carl and I are both on board that we've got to have you guys.
One of the things that we've been able to help is the concurrent enrollment.
Yes.
That's one of the things, and I know that the budget chairman on the House side is very much in favor of promoting that program.
And we appreciate that very much because that helps the public at the high schools, and we're all in favor.
Concurrent enrollment, for somebody that didn't know, is high school kids being able to take college courses while they're in high school. So but also a lot of the OU and OSU don't do that as much as the regionals do, and so
That's true.
funding is going to them.
Well, that also helps mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
I've got a son that's 17, fixing to go to college, and I'm thinking about cost of living, not what the tuition and the classes are going to cost. It's what is he going to be eating and living at college. So all the classes that he can take while he's in my house helps him maybe get out a year earlier. It helps a class. So it's that concurrent enrollment helps everyone.
Other questions?
What happened with our cemetery bill?
Cemetery bill is waiting to be heard in the House, the Roland's version, and I don't know, mine that went over there, I don't know, did you guys hear Peterson's cemetery bill yet?
What committee did it go through?
It's already through committee. I know it passed committee.
In the Senate?
Yeah.
Okay, then it's probably be heard this week.
Yeah, well, they should be heard this week. I've got it on my list of priorities to be heard. I've got 8 bills to run this week, so.
So I handed mine off to Roland, so.
I have a question. What about the, I think it's 378, the CDL bill, about the third-party testing?
Where is that at? That's moving along.
Yeah, I'm trying to, the third party.
That's the, where a third party can test for
To get a CDL license.
Oh, yeah.
It's on your side.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to think of where it's at. Actually, I think it may be on the calendar for Monday to look on the House floor, but it's coming to the House floor if it had not been there. I'm trying to think. I think it's on, I read it this latter part of this week about that, now that you said third-party testing, yeah, but that's coming along, yeah. I think we'll be voted on Monday or Tuesday.
And I don't see a problem with it.
No.
I know the amount of phone calls I've gotten matches everyone else. There's an issue in getting your CDL license in this state.
People trained, and we've been trying to work with the county commissioners, and like there was 45 days that they didn't even have a test in Woodward, so it's an issue for rural Oklahoma.
It's, in Woodward, it was hard to pass it. It was hard to pass it in Woodward. I had people that were driving to Tulsa to take their test.
Yeah.
Because they wasn't passing it in Woodward. My nephew drove from Felt to Woodward 3 times.
Yeah,
That's 1,200 miles to get your.
Enid's having the same problem.
378?
I
Correct.
think it's 378.
I'm not texting my wife, I'm just.
You know what's amazing, and I'm not making fun of Carl because he's old.
Thank you.
But he can work that little machine. I'm still trying to figure out how to work mine. I sat in the office yesterday and I'm trying to figure this out. And my EA goes, well, you can do that. And I said, I can't, but here, fix it.
Go ahead and ask another question. I'm looking at. Shows it was.
So on the hemp, if people are curious, there are some farmers that filed a lawsuit against the FSA director here in Oklahoma, trying to force him to loosen the reins up on growing it. I called the governor's office yesterday trying to get his help on this situation because we've got 2 weeks. It's very, very time sensitive. These farmers need to get the seed in the ground. And if they go sideways on this, the farmers can plant another crop. What concerns me about us dragging our feet and not getting in here full heart is the manufacturer opportunities that can come to Oklahoma because we have industrial hemp. We're going to be behind Texas and Kansas. They're planting in Texas and Kansas right now, and we're not because we have a hiccup. And when this industry is a budding industry, no pun intended, but it's the Wild West. It's 1849. There's so much you can do with industrial hemp. You make plastic. I read a few months ago, that the BMW car and the Mercedes car, a lot of the parts on those cars are industrial hemp, plastics. They make plastics out of them. So if Oklahoma wants to draw manufacturers and industry to the state, we've got to have a product here for them to work with. And if we're a year behind Texas and Kansas, and these guys are wanting to invest, these investors out of New York, these wanting to invest money, we're gonna lose out on that. And that's what concerns me on us being so slow. Did you find it?
Yep, it passed the House. It's passed Senate and House. It's on the way to the governor's desk.
Thank you.
Last week I've been kind of preoccupied running around chasing down a big bill that I wasn't going to address it, but since you should know that I am running a Walmart optometry bill this session, and it's a compromise between optometry and Walmart, and the whole thing has been big fight, hadn't it, Troy? We've been, and me getting this moved forward has been a big fight too. You said, why am I changing the will of the people, 793, right? 783, we voted it down, correct? And I appreciate that, believe me. So I'm not trying to go against the will of the people. But what we're trying to do is protect the patients and the whole process, okay? And that bill was probably the worst thing for patients in Oklahoma. And I found out why Walmart wants it so bad. Walmart wants to be in Oklahoma so bad. There's more Walmarts per capita than any other state of the union. I guess Oklahoma loves Walmart, or Walmart loves Oklahoma. I don't know which it is. But anyway, so we've been dealing with that. And so Walmart has already told, they put it out there that they're going to run another initiative petition next year. Well, that Walmart makes $146 million a day. And to fight them is kind of hard. And that's part of the things where we run into the Capitol, is it's hard when you got big money against you, okay? And so we've looked at the situation and decided it'd be better if we were in charge of a piece of legislation to move forward. So what we're going to do is we will allow Walmart, if the bill passes, and that's what I've been working on, and seriously, it's a fight when you're doing this kind of stuff, when you get something like this. We will let Walmart have optical shops, okay? And then they can lease a space that follows the same parameters as any other doctor of optometry. They cannot get incentives from Walmart. They cannot be referring them to their optical shop. They have to be independent doctors of optometry. There's a set lease. They can't say, well, if you get people will sell by 20 pair, if you give them 20 pair of glasses, we'll cut your lease. They can't do that. It's an independent doctor housed in the building. Same two-door policy, what we call, fancy word is a two-door policy. That means you have to go to a public thoroughfare and then go to an optical shop. And so the same thing's going to happen with the bill with the Walmart. So in long story short, I've been working with both parties. I've had troubles on the Senate side with the person that's got the bill over there. And so, long story, and I apologize for bringing this out, but a long story, but this needs to be known that we are doing this because this is the best thing for the patients of Oklahoma. And also, they get to roll it out very slowly instead of just throwing it wide open and hiring anybody. By the time they can come to Alva, Oklahoma, and this Walmart, it'll be 2042. So, I mean, they get the metro. That's what they want. They want Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They don't really care that much about rural Oklahoma, but we're just trying to protect the patient-doctor relationship. What they were wanting to do in theirs was to allow them to be able to practice any way they saw fit, Walmart saw fit. And I don't know about you guys know, but Walmart's about the money. I mean, that's what they're there for. And so this protects the patients, and that's why we do it. And so that's maybe why I'm a little distracted, because I remember reading that bill, and I was for that bill, so I wouldn't. Some of the ones that are no's are make big alerts, and I kind of watch them more. But yeah, it's passed the House. So just to let you know. Sorry. Any other questions?
Thank you guys so much. Stick around and please eat some more. And thanks for having us.
All right.
So, everybody, make sure and eat. We got plenty of food there. And if you're not going to eat this food, make sure and stop by the tables out front on your way out. We're having a silent auction fundraiser, and there's all kinds of goodies out there. Write down a bid, and then we'll do what we can to help you keep track of your bid throughout the day.
Peanut clusters are no good, so don't bid.